The new assistant was everything Selena tried to avoid. Relaxed, bold, always smiling and full of sharp remarks. Ever since she had taken the position 2 weeks ago, she seemed determined to provoke a reaction in Selena, and she was succeeding. "Good morning, boss." Taylor's voice had come a bit too close, and when Selena looked up, there she was, leaning against the doorframe with her arms crossed. Her fitted dress in a vibrant shade contrasted sharply with the seriousness of the office, and the mischievous smile left no doubt that she was aware of the effect she had. Selena cleared her throat and diverted her eyes back to the computer screen. "Any important news, Taylor?" "Several. But I think the most urgent is that you left your jacket in the meeting room last night." Taylor had entered the room uninvited and set the folded jacket on the table, leaning a bit too far in the process. The citrus scent she exuded mingled with the woody fragrance of Selena, creating a dense atmosphere. "Thank you," Selena replied, managing to keep her composure. Then Taylor rested her fingers on the table, lightly gliding them across the surface as she observed her. "Working late again? Need someone to make sure you get home at a decent hour?" The comment was casual, yet the way it was delivered. "Oh." Selena caught the undertone. She pushed her chair back and took a deep breath. "None of your business." All right. Taylor raised her hands in surrender, though her smile never faltered. "Just let me know if you need a reminder to have a little fun now and then." With a teasing wink, she left the room, leaving Selena with tense shoulders and a dangerous, unsettling excitement coursing through her. The following days were a test of endurance. Selena tried to remain distant, impassive, professional. But Taylor seemed to have turned that coldness into a personal challenge. Accidental touches multiplied, fingers brushing while grabbing a document, shoulders meeting in the narrow corridor, Taylor's hand lightly resting at the small of Selena's back as she guided her through client events. Small gestures that piled up like embers under the surface. And then, there were the glances. One afternoon, as Selena was reviewing a contract, she felt someone's eyes on her. She looked up and found Taylor leaning against the glass wall of the office, a cup of coffee in hand and a playful sparkle in her eyes. "Something wrong?" Selena raised an eyebrow. Taylor tilted her head. "You always furrow your brow when you're focused. It almost looks like you're annoyed." "Maybe I am." Taylor chuckled and walked over to her desk, leaning on the edge. "Ever consider that you might be annoyed because you never let yourself relax?" The nerve of that woman. "I do relax." I doubt it." Selena narrowed her eyes, and Taylor bit her lower lip, feigning innocence. "But that's fine. I might suggest something to help, but you'd tell me to shut up." Selena's heart pounded in her chest. "You're playing with fire, Taylor. And you're dying to get burned." Selena held her breath, but before she could respond, Taylor stepped back and left the room. And it became clear. Avoiding that tension was impossible. That night, Selena stayed late at the office, but she wasn't alone. Taylor remained in the adjoining room, sorting through reports. The lights had been dimmed, casting soft shadows on the walls. When Selena left her office to grab a coffee, she found Taylor sitting at her own workstation, legs crossed, phone in hand. "You're still here?" Selena asked, her voice a little husky from exhaustion. "Not the only one," Taylor retorted with a smile. There was a brief silence. The distant hum of the city filled the space, mingling with the sound of the air conditioner. Selena could feel every beat of her own heart as she became aware of the way Taylor was looking at her. "May I ask you a question?" Taylor said, sliding off the table to stand. "Depends on the question." Taylor moved closer, slowly. "Have you ever thought about us?" Selena froze. She could lie. She could avert her gaze and end the conversation. But something in the intensity of the moment made her stay, her breath caught in her throat. Taylor smiled softly and, with a delicate gesture, raised her hand to lightly touch the sleeve of Selena's blazer. The contact was subtle, yet electric. You're so uptight all the time, but I bet you don't have to be. Selena swallowed hard. The tension between them reached a breaking point, an invisible thread stretched to its limit. Then, Taylor lowered her hand and took a step back, as if giving her a moment. "Good night, boss." And she left, leaving Selena with her thoughts in disarray and an undeniable desire smoldering beneath her skin. Selena remained motionless in the middle of the office, eyes fixed on the door Taylor had just exited through. The warmth of the assistant's touch still lingered on her sleeve, and that daring phrase echoed in her mind. "You're so uptight all the time. But I bet you don't have to be." Selena's breathing was heavy. She couldn't let this continue. A line had to be drawn between them. But then, why was her skin still tingling where Taylor had touched her? The next day, Selena tried to focus on work, deliberately ignoring Taylor's presence in the office. But how could one ignore someone who seemed to inhabit every thought? During the morning, Taylor moved about the room with her usual confidence. Dressed in a light blazer over a silk blouse, Selena had to avert her eyes before the subtle details of the fabric caused more trouble. "I need your signature on these contracts, boss." Taylor set the documents on the desk and leaned in slightly, closer than necessary. Selena picked up the pen, determined to keep her composure. But then she felt it. The citrus perfume, the slight tilt of Taylor's body, the stray strands of hair brushing against her own skin. And as if that weren't enough, when Selena flipped to the last page, Taylor raised her hand and pointed out a detail in the document, their fingers lightly brushing. Selena froze. It wasn't an intentional touch, nor an overt gesture, but it was enough. She looked up at Taylor and caught the assistant's unyielding gaze, a half-smile playing on her lips. "She's toying with me." Selena set the pen down and pushed the papers back, trying to hide the agitation welling up inside her. "Everything's fine. You may proceed." Taylor slowly picked up the documents, her fingers grazing over the paper before finally stepping away. And Selena realized they were standing on the edge of an abyss. That night, Selena walked out to the building's terrace. She needed some air. The cool breeze helped clear her thoughts, yet even the chill couldn't dispel the electricity running through her veins. She was giving in. She was surrendering to Taylor in a way she had never allowed herself with anyone. The sound of a door opening behind her made her hold her breath. She knew before she even turned around. "I knew you'd be here." Taylor's voice came low, almost like a secret. Selena turned slowly. Taylor approached with measured steps, the city lights reflecting in her eyes. "Need a reminder to relax?" Taylor teased, her mouth curving into a wry smile. Selena crossed her arms, trying to appear indifferent, but Taylor wasn't deterred. Instead, she closed the distance even more. "Can you feel it?" "You know you can," Taylor whispered. Selena remained silent, because, yes, she could feel it. It was in the lingering glances, the fleeting touches, in the way her entire body responded to Taylor's presence. The assistant took another step forward, her fingers trailing along the sleeve of Selena's blazer, slowly inching up to her wrist. Selena should have pulled away, but she didn't. Noticing the hesitation, Taylor exploited it relentlessly. Her fingers wandered until they intertwined with Selena's, the soft touches almost like a test. Then, she leaned in, her lips hovering close to Selena's face. "If you tell me to stop, I will." Selena felt her heart pounding against her ribs. She could claim it was a mistake. She could step back and end it before it went too far. Yet, Taylor pressed her fingers against Selena's, interlocking them, and Selena felt the warmth of her breath against her skin. And in that moment, everything collapsed. The kiss was inevitable, as if it had been written in the stars. Selena pulled Taylor close by her waist, their lips colliding in a fervent meeting of desire and surrender. Taylor sighed against her mouth, her hands sliding from Selena's arms down to her shoulders. The kiss started slow, exploratory, but soon intensified. Selena deepened it, claiming Taylor as her own, savoring her taste and the heat of their bodies pressed together. When they finally broke apart, Selena rested her forehead against Taylor's, both of them breathing erratically. Taylor smiled. I knew it. Selena closed her eyes for a moment, catching her breath. She knew it too. She'd always known.